Good evening and welcome to the Town Council meeting of Monday, November 20th. It is just after 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councillor Auclair. Councillor Carrasco.
Present.
Councillor Clements.
Present.
Councillor DePietro. Councillor McKenzie.
Present.
Councillor Manna.
Present.
Councillor Morales.
Present.
Councillor Nash.
Present.
Councillor Steve.
Present.
7 present.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3, consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of November 6, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Any corrections, deletions, additions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Unanimous. Agenda item number 4, subcommittee summaries, relevant minutes to be read at each agenda item. 4A, general government. Councilor Steve.
We did have a meeting last week, but I have not had time to type up the minutes. And 2 of the items are on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. 4B, Department of Public Works, is Councilor DePietro, and he is not here. 4C, Education and Human Services, Councilor Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, very briefly, prior to this meeting at 6:30 tonight, we had a meeting of Education Human Services Subcommittee, joint with Town Council participation. There were 2 items, one of which was simply approval of the previous meeting's minutes, which were approved, and we've already looked at. They've been sent in draft form to everyone's packet previously. And the other item was acceptance of an allocation of the Cultural Council's funding, which we have discussed already. That's in the amount of $11,200, and that was all that we had tonight. No future meetings have yet been scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. 4D, Planning and Development, that's Councilor Clare, she's not here. 4E, Protections of Persons and Property, Councilor Manna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have a meeting of the PPP on November 15th. Just really quick, 2 items are on the agenda in regards to the constable and replacing 2 retiring police officers. Chief Woodson is here. If you have any questions, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer them for you. And I will be forwarding those minutes off to Yvonne. You should have a copy in front of you. And whoever wants to read those minutes can do so going through the clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manna. Councilor DePietro, we went past DPW. Do you have anything to report?
Madam Chair was kind enough to run that meeting for me as I was absent.
That was, yes, okay. So we're good. Right. Anything scheduled? No?
We do have one coming up on the 20th, as I found out just a few hours ago, on the 29th, I believe,
Okay.
at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Chairman's announcements. I have a few this evening. In regard to the EHS meeting that we just had, there was an agenda item there for that $11,200, and on that contract, which the subcommittee voted to recommend council approve, it has a December 1st deadline that was brought to our attention, and being such, I would like to have a motion to add that as agenda item number 15 and moved councilors forum and the discussion of the meeting date down to 16 and 17.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Motion carries. So that will be, as I said, item number 15. Okay, I was very fortunate to attend the Veterans Day celebrations last week, West Street School and Charlton Street School. And I want to point out, West Street School was the first time they'd ever done that, as Mr. Trombley had mentioned was going to happen. And what was really unique about their celebration is that they had 2 employees, crossing guards, that were veterans, and they were honoring them that day. The breakfast that they sponsored was in honor of the 2. And I just would like to point them out because it's quite unique. One was Miss Barrows, and she had been a crossing guard at the school for 17 years. veteran, and so we thank her for her service. And Mr. LaFleche, who many of you know, he served in many capacities in the community, 20 years, I believe I was told, with the school department in some capacity, and I believe it was the last 8 years or so that he was a crossing guard, and again, honored as a veteran and giving his service here to our community, protecting the children. So it was a wonderful celebration, and it was great to be able to honor those two special veterans at West Street School. Charlton Street School also, as usual, for many, many years has done a great presentation for all who attend. And so I thank the teachers and all the faculty staff, and especially the students who did such a great job to honor the vets. Also, the Boy Scouts had a wonderful flag burning. Didn't sound quite right, but it really was a very nice. Yeah, that was on Saturday at the gazebo. Very, very cold, but it was really wonderful to see so many turn out for that very solemn and I'm just a learning experience to watch the American flag and understand all the history to it and how we have to dispose of the American flag. So I thank the Scout leaders and all who participated there. So moving on, we have the SBP breakfast I mentioned last time. I want to say it again. The Southbridge Business Partnership is combining with the Sturbridge Business Association, and they are putting on a free breakfast December 5th for the business community. They're in association with the Sturbridge Tourist Association, is a joint partner in this breakfast. It will be held at Fins and Tails in Southbridge on December 5th, as I said, 8 to 9:30. If you are interested, if you're a local business and you would like to attend and learn something of what's going on in the community and how they can help you in whether it's a business plan or training or something else entirely for your business, please feel free to RSVP by November 28th to Rosemary Scrivens here in the town of Southbridge. She is in the Economic Development Office, and she can help you and get you a reservation for that event. It's also being posted on the website, so you can get more information there about the Southbridge Business Partnership and that event. Let's see. Household Hazardous Waste Day will be December 2nd from 9 to 1. It will be for the residents of Southbridge and Charlton. It will happen, of course, at the landfill on Commercial Drive. You are expected to have some type of ID to participate, and more information on that, unless somebody has more to add, can be found on the website. You can go to thinkreduce.com and find out the types of products that you are allowed to bring and dispose of on that day. And this one here now goes to the town manager. I had a number of phone calls from concerned citizens in regard to the leaf bags. As you know, our landfill will be closing, and one of the things that has been done over many, many years, or maybe you don't know, is that leaf bags were provided to a lot of the local stores, like Big Money Market, a number of the hardware stores. The leaf bags were provided by Casella and were purchased for a very small amount, maybe a nickel or a dime or something. That was not a mandatory item, and so therefore that is one of the items that apparently has been ceased. Discontinued, and apparently whatever residual bags were left were handed out, and they will not be supplying the stores with more leaf bags. My concern is that while we had heard that was going to happen, I didn't realize it had. So I did speak with the Board of Health office, and I asked Eric if that could be posted somewhere. Our citizens don't realize, they're just coming to realize that they can't buy any more bags, or they can't buy our bags at 10 cents. Now, there are other bags on the marketplace. You can go to Aubuchon's Hardware in different places and get other paper bags at a substantially increased amount. But we need to be more mindful of that and to let people know what's going on with the landfill closing.
And if I could follow up on that, I would be
Please.
happy to post that on the town's website and also on the Facebook page and put the information out there. It is a shame, but there are going to be changes as a result of the landfill closing. The citizens should be able to be prepared for. Along with that, at some point in time, the recycling up near the airport is also going to be closed. We're worried about that as well. Currently, as you know, we're in discussions with Casella about all of those things. But it is going to be there is going to be an impact on the town as a result of Casella doing some things above and beyond the contract that will stop. And as we get more information on that, we will release it and try to get it out to the public.
Right. I would appreciate that, because to find out after the fact is just not good enough for the citizens. So as this one citizen said, he doesn't mind paying more, doesn't mind doing more on his part, but they need to know. They need to not be surprised. So whether it's that, whether there'll be a transfer station in the future for other waste items, those types of things, whatever the plan is going to be, we need to continue to get that message out to the community. Okay. And finally, let's see, snowplow drivers, we still need snowplow drivers. If anyone is interested in participating for the town and being hired with your truck, or if you're interested, we had a couple of positions open. I'm not sure, are they still open this week, as after last week, Mr. Town Manager? Do you know?
Are the snowplow openings still?
There were two.
There's still openings available from...
For driving
Heather.
our trucks.
For driving our trucks, that's
Okay.
correct. And I think they're still looking at potential contractors
Yes.
as well, so they're doing both.
They are, and if you are interested, please contact the town manager's office, and they will get a packet out to you. All right, and finally, I just want to again mention the Southbridge tree lighting that is happening this Saturday. You note the change. It was supposed to, usually it's a Sunday, but we've gone to Saturday, so it's November 25th. The procession, parade, whatever we like to call it, will start at 4 p.m. from the old Wells School, which is Marcy and Main Street. There's still time for you to consider participating and creating a float. Get in touch with somebody from the committee and let them know you want to participate. Otherwise, you can just join us at 310 Main Street. Some of you may have noticed the tree went up, wonderfully donated tree by Pat Trahan went up on Sunday, and we were lucky to have former Chief Laporte help put all the lights on and make sure that will be all lit for and ready for Santa to light, rather, on Saturday evening. Starts at 4, as I said, heads down to the Common. There'll be Santa photos for $5 from 5:30 to 7:30. Cocoa and cookies. We'll have some extra food going on with food vendors. If you're interested in fried dough and kettle corn, bring some change. And most importantly, we will have the Zepp Llamas as a donation from the Southbridge Cultural Council. They are supporting the Zepp Llamas to be there for an educational instruction to the children, to let them learn where these alpacas live and how they live, and they can make a cute craft to take home with them for the holidays. There'll be great Christmas music. And I'm not sure what else to say about it, except you can find more information at Southbridge Holiday Vision's Facebook, and also, certainly by calling the town hall and getting in touch with me. We hope to see as many people as possible come on out, and we want to, in advance, thank our police, our fire, many who are here this evening, and our DPW, who have agreed to once again participate with us. So those are all my announcements. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you. I would like to also join the council chair in thanking our veterans in West Street School and the great job that our schools do on behalf of the veterans. I was particularly interested to see such a huge crowd of veterans at West Street School. They did an awesome job in showing up, and I want to thank our veterans agent, Michael Tromley, this year. He did a great job, and I know he was excited because a second school has been added on. And we're going to keep moving forward. Charlton Street was our leader in terms of starting this. Now we have West Street, and hopefully the high school and other schools will join in recognizing the sacrifices of the men and women who serve this country. A couple other quick announcements just to let town council know. The lease for the space up at the airport administration building, that lease will be going before the airport commission tomorrow night. Hopefully they'll be able to finalize that, and then next it will come to the full town council because it is a legal issue, so it will come directly here. Secondarily, a lot of you were very interested in the firehouse feasibility planning. That the RFQ has been completed, a great job on that. I want to thank our Assistant DPW Director Matt, who did an awesome job in helping us put together that request for qualifications. That will go on the state register, and hopefully soon we'll be receiving vendors who are looking for that work as well. Lastly, I want to talk about something that we're doing for the third year. It's the Town Manager's Holiday Window Challenge. As you know, this is the third year we're trying to get all the downtown merchants to decorate their store windows for Christmas, to try to attract more citizens to come down and shop in our local stores. So to all the businesses that might be listening, the owners, please do everything you can to join this challenge. I want to once again thank the Southbridge News, who not only does a story on the winning store window, it's free advertisement, they also add in a free ad for the person who wins as well. So it's been a very positive program last few years, and we're looking to continue that this year. And thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager.
Question, actually,
Trustees.
regarding to the town manager, mentioning the airport commission contract. Do you think that'll be ready to put on a general government meeting agenda for next week?
I think it will be. If they vote on it for tonight, it'll be at the next town council meeting.
Okay, because I forgot to mention earlier that I'm tentatively working with Yvonne to set one up for early next week. So if we can throw that on the agenda, we can do something then too.
Okay, yeah, like I said, tomorrow night is the vote,
Right,
so they'll be
okay.
meeting. I expect that they will vote it out. They knew all the terms are pretty much as they thought, so once they look at their terms, I think the negotiations from their point of view will end, and they'll vote it out, and we'll be able to put it right on the council agenda.
Okay. Yep.
Moving on to agenda item number 7. And this is why we have lots of people in our audience this evening. It's wonderful to see everybody in uniform. We have 2. The first one is a presentation by Deputy Chief Jose Dingy, Presentation 2, Deputy Chief Jose Dingy, Detective Sergeant Carlos Dingy, Detective Evan Genkos, Officers Charlie Bergeron Pinacchio, Dean Bruno, Gerald Arvello, Matthew Bynema, Luis Torres, Jordan Witherspoon, and Dispatcher Paul Sonyan, for their work in solving the Nurse Elise Wilson case in June of 2017. It will be presented by Police Chief Shane Woodson and staff members, RN members at Harrington Memorial Hospital. Welcome to everyone here this evening.
They're all trying to hide back there. None of them like to be recognized, so we dragged them here
Going to
tonight.
get the camera on them.
Anyway, thank you again, Mr. Town Manager, Madam Chair, members of the council, for giving us a few minutes tonight. I just want to start out by saying, you see the beard, the gray beard, and the beards of many of the guys behind me, and what we're doing is we're participating in No Shave November. Many police departments are doing it throughout the country. Every single one of us had to pony up $50 each, donate it to the Police Association. Right now, we're over $1,000, and on November 30th, we'll donate it to a cancer charity. So that's why we all have this scruff here. They've been making fun of me for a couple weeks now, so I'm thinking about shaving it, but we'll see what happens with that. We're here tonight for much more serious reasons, to commend the officers that are standing behind me tonight for their actions on Wednesday, June 14th, at about 10:17 in the morning. On that date, all of our police officers that were available were dispatched up to the emergency room to investigate the report of a stabbing that had just occurred. We were told that a patient had entered the ER, was in the triage room, had seriously assaulted one of the registered nurses to the point where it was life-threatening injuries, and she was life-flighted from the facility. And then after he had completed that, wreaking the havoc up at the hospital, he fled the scene. And I got to say, tonight we were talking on the way here and during the day, the men and women that are behind me now had this suspect, and I won't even, pay him the homage of identifying him. Within 22 minutes, he was in custody. He was handcuffed. And just for a point of reference, that was quicker than the hospital could lock down their whole facility. This bad guy was in custody, which is outstanding police work. Within a short time after that, our detectives, Detective Sergeant Carlos Dingy and Detective Jankos, interviewed this suspect at our headquarters, and he admitted that he had planned the attack. He admitted that the reason why he did this attack was because he was upset with their services that he received there, a few weeks before. He described to the detectives how he sharpened a knife out in the parking lot, how it was premeditated, how, unfortunately for the nurse, Elise Wilson, she was just the unlucky one who caught a bad break that day, is pretty much how he summarized it. So, we're here tonight, and we hope that Ms. Wilson makes a full recovery, which we hope and pray for. In fact, on Monday, October 30th, Deputy Chief Dingy and I were at a annual meeting for the hospital that took place at the Public House to honor Mrs. Wilson. And after that, the ceremony, I spoke with a few of the nurses that were working with her that day who were here in the audience tonight. And they were also working that night and helped save her life, along with several of the firefighters that are here. They wanted to acknowledge the men and women that work for the department. They had, they kind of wanted to keep it low-key because they know that these guys do not like awards and they don't like coming out here. And I said, I'm the chief and I get credit when things go well. I get credit when things go bad, but I had nothing to do with this. These are the men and women that put this whole case together. And it's important that members of the council and everybody, the citizens in the community realize that. So they wanted to do something. They also wanted to thank us not only for that incident on that date, for that help on June 14th, but for those of you that don't know, from the 14th on, for several months, our police department had provided security to the hospital, 24/7 around the clock. It was basically detail shifts around the clock. And that was so they could hire additional security, put other measures in place, do some more training for their security officers and things like that. And at this time, all those things are in place and we're no longer providing security. So the nurses wanted to recognize them. Speaking with the council chairwoman Clements, she suggested I bring this forward to a council meeting. I said, that's a great idea. I'd like to do that. So thank you for having us all here tonight again. And at this time, with that said, I'd like to recognize the following officers for their actions on that date. Get this. I'll just read the first one, and they all say the same thing. So from the Southbridge Police Department Distinguished Service Award bestowed upon, in this case, Deputy Chief Jose A. Dingy, in recognition of your outstanding efforts on behalf of the Southbridge Police Department, which resulted in the arrest of an armed suspect wanted for the attempted murder of a registered nurse at Harrington Memorial Hospital on June 14, 2017, issued this 20th day of November 2017, signed by me. Detective Sergeant Carlos Dingy, who ran the investigation. Detective Evan Jankos. Patrol Officer Dean Bruno. Patrol Officer Gerald Arvello. Patrol Officer Matt Bynema. Patrol Officer Luis Torres, who's also our school resource officer. Dispatcher Paul Sugian. And just if I could, before I call the nurses up from the hospital, Officer Charlie Edmiston Bergeron and Officer Jordan Witherspoon, who's also a school resource officer, could not be here tonight, but they're also receiving commendations. So without further ado,
To officers of the Southbridge Police Department. On Wednesday, June 14, 2017, our emergency department and our staff has changed forever. Not only was one of our own nurses brutally attacked, but our feelings of safety and security were gone. Following the attack, the outpouring of love and support we received from our patients, the community, family, friends, and colleagues was almost overwhelming. However, no department gave us more a sense of safety and security than the Southbridge Police. Having you stationed in our department during that time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, was a gift. So often as ER staff, when we pull up to the hospital at the beginning of a shift and see a police car, we roll our eyes and wonder what mayhem awaits us. During the months Southbridge Police officers were in our department, seeing that police car was a true comfort. We are not naive in assuming you volunteered your time, but we realize that your time spent here with us was time away from your own families and friends, so we thank you. Thank you for signing on for extra shifts. Thank you for taking the time to understand this environment and our obstacles. Thank you for being an extra set of hands. Thank you for making us laugh. But most important, thank you for helping us heal and for becoming a part of our family. We are forever grateful.
So the staff at Harrington, we have these Harrington Strong shirts, and everyone in our department signed it. And we want to present it to the Southbridge Police Department as a thank you. From Harrington Hospital, ER. It's just, you guys just made us safer than you'll ever know. So this is for you guys.
Thank you.
thank you, members of council, again.
Thank you all for all that you do every day. And now we have a second presentation this evening. It's of a life-saving award to firefighters Michael Gagne, John Peretti, and Deputy Chief Paul Normandin by Fire Chief Mark DeFranzo.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us here this evening. As Chief Woodson said, it's very nice of you to take the time to acknowledge some heroic actions that day on June 14th. We'll give you a little story of what happened for us that day and the actions of a couple of members of my staff. So as Chief Woodson said, on June 14th around 10 a.m., we got a call from the administrator in the emergency room stating she needed a stat transfer due to a stabbing victim that was bleeding badly. And then we found out it was one of the nurse staff. While she was still on the phone, there was a big conversation that I guess occurred, and they indicated to disregard the stat transfer, we're going to call Lifelike. Well, for those of you that don't know, we have a very close working relationship with the nurse staff and everybody up at the emergency room. So the staff asked Lieutenant Hulick if they could take a ride up to see if there was anything that they could do. So Firefighter Gagner and Firefighter Peretti took a ride to the emergency room to see if there was anything they could do to help with the situation. Once they entered the emergency room, they found a very active scene and were welcomed very quickly by Dr. High, looking for additional assistance. Now, during that time, you know, the staff and myself were listening to radio transmissions, and the police were doing the best that they could to locate the suspect, but he still hadn't been found yet. So once our staff encountered what was going on in the emergency room, they quickly realized that the hemorrhage control kits that we carry in our ambulance have commercial tourniquets and hemorrhage control quick clot. So they quickly ran out and grabbed that, brought it into the emergency room, applied it to Nurse Wilson, and from everybody that we've spoken to, or everybody that's spoken to us, those items probably saved her life by us bringing those pieces of equipment in. And those pieces of equipment we've only had on our ambulances for probably about 2 years. So it was something that we recognized we needed to help the public, never dreaming that we would ever need it in the emergency room. So our staff did a great job at working with the staff in the hospital. Deputy Chief Normanton arrived shortly after the ambulance to help assist with patient care and control, but also at this time the emergency room was closed. They went on what we call code black, which means no patients are coming in and no patients are going out. So with all of that commotion going on, Deputy Chief Normanton assisted in trying to maintain some semblance of order in the emergency room, as a lot of people were working to help and save Elise Wilson. So he took that on himself. So during this whole time, like we said, the staff's working in this emergency room, and like Chief Woodson said, as much as the hospital's closed, you know, there's still doors that are open and things are available. The staff that was working on, you know, Nurse Wilson had no idea whether the victim, the assailant was still around or was he apprehended, but they continued to do their job and help as best they could to save the life of Elise Wilson. So thankfully, the police did apprehend the victim, the assailant, and everything came to a good conclusion at the end. But by working as a team, these members, Firefighter Peretti, Firefighter Gagner, and Deputy Chief Normanton, were able to save the life of Elise Wilson. So with that, it's my honor and privilege to recognize their diligent and aggressive actions. So for their actions, we're giving them the life-saving citation, along with a pin that they will wear proudly on their uniform. So the first one I have is Life-Saving Award presented to Paul Norman and Deputy Chief for extraordinary efforts and dedication in saving the life of Elise Wilson on June 14th, 2017. The next one is presented to Firefighter EMT Advanced Jonathan Peretti. And the last one is to Firefighter EMT Paramedic Michael Gagner. And as you know, we have a decent semblance of firefighters here. I know the town manager always recognizes me for the efforts of, you know, doing our best out in the field in drug overdose cases and those types of things. But they're here tonight, and I want to thank them. I know I never do it often enough, but I want to thank them for all the work that they do every single day. And just like, you know, the police officers, they don't do this for recognition. They do it because it's the job that they want to do, it's the job they love to do, and they want to help in every way, shape, form that they can. So thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, Chief DeFronzo. I'd also like to make a comment that on Friday evening, we suffered another fire in our community to a local business, and it was my understanding, in speaking with a number of firefighters and the chief, that we were short-staffed for numerous reasons that evening, and yet a very, very small contingent arrived on that blaze at the Vienna on Main Street and managed to keep it from spreading and contain it so that we wouldn't have a bigger problem and other buildings wouldn't be affected. It was a 3-alarm. Many other towns came to assist, of course, but my understanding it was the quick action of the initial responders along with the police who helped divert traffic at a very busy intersection that kept things from being worse. So thank you to all who then responded and came in. Again, my understanding is a number of you, a good amount of firefighters came in from wherever they were. Fundraiser for Mr. Reddick, I hear, and in other places, but came, donned your gear, and made sure that everybody was safe and accounted for, and there was no extra damage that needed to be. So thank you for everything you did on Friday evening in our community as well. Okay, we will move on now with our council agenda. Citizens Forum, agenda number 8. If there is anyone who would like to speak to anything not on the agenda, you may get up. You'll have 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the council? No? I don't see anyone approaching, so we will move on. Agenda item number 9, vote to confirm the appointment of Timothy Grant as constable for a 3-year term effective immediately through January 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Councilor McKenzie.
Point of correction, I think it's actually, it says here June. Is that wrong?
Through June 30th.
You said January.
You did, actually.
I did?
Yeah, you didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that either. Because January is a really long, that's okay.
I know, that's why I was correcting it.
Okay. It was interpreted as June.
Oh, okay.
All right? So we're good. Okay, any other discussion on this agenda item in regard to the appointment? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Motion passes. Agenda item number 10, vote to appropriate $46,000 to FY 2018 police salaries account number 1.210.5110 for the hiring of 2 new police officers to replace 2 officers retiring in fiscal year 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this item.
Where's the chief?
He's out there with his officers. Do you have
Well,
the
that's
police chief come in?
Do we have the chief come in?
Do you,
I don't know if you
okay,
need him.
yes, calm down. If you have something to say, please address us properly. You have minutes to this, Councillor Steves?
This was under my agenda.
Oh, PPP, Councillor Manna, would you like to speak on this?
I don't have a copy of my own minutes, but like I said, there's Chief Woodson.
Okay, but if you could maybe,
Right.
talk about your minutes.
Chief Woodson is being proactive in this sense. We have 2 retiring police officers next year, and he is looking to find their replacements now and hire them now. So when the officers do actually retire, we will have police officers set in place, ready to go on the road, instead of waiting another full year almost to get them going. So Chief Woodson can explain this better. Thank you.
If I could elaborate on that, Madam Chair?
Certainly.
The issue is, and I don't understand why, and I explained this at PPP, historically, our department, we'd have a police officer retire in, say, July, and then I'd come to the council, or whoever was the chief at the time, and they'd say, I need another police officer, and that's great, and the council's always supported us, but I come to you in July, we have a police officer retiring July 1st of 2018. So if I came to you in mid-July, we have to call for a requisition. They call from Civil Service, from Boston. They send a list of qualified candidates. We have to vet that whole process with the candidates because not everybody can be a police officer. And then once we figure out who's a good candidate after interviews, backgrounds, psychological, medical, everything else, that's several months. Then an academy, you have to take whatever academy is available in the state. They're not always available. That's 24 weeks. So if in July we have that candidate, that person who retires, and we hire a new candidate to replace them, we may not see that police officer on the street for a year, and oftentimes it's longer than that. So I don't know why historically we've done that, but it doesn't make any sense because the police officer that's retiring in July, I have to backfill with overtime. So it costs money. So my intention and my request to the council would be, we have a police officer retiring July 1st. We have a second police officer retiring October 20th. We have an academy scheduled in Springfield in February. So what this would do, what this would approve for me to move forward on, a requisition of the list, we can start backgrounds, the town manager and I can do interviews, we can get two good candidates, hopefully, have them scheduled and slated to go for that February academy. This money pays for the salary, essentially, from the February start date of that academy, February 5th of 2018, and it covers them all the way to June 30th of 2018, which is the fiscal year, as you all know. After June 30th, July 1st, our new budget season starts. I will not be coming to the town manager or to the council and asking for additional funding after July for our FY19 budget, because I have 2 max seniority police officers retiring. Both had full education incentive, high salaries, high vacation time, a lot of sick leave. We're essentially flip-flopping 2 new recruits coming in the door, or candidates, for 2 senior veteran police officers. So in FY19, I'm not looking for additional money. I don't anticipate coming to you for additional money. This should get us the funding for the salary, for the tuition, and for all the equipment that they need for this academy, which is scheduled to commence on February 5th.
Councilor Carrasco.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Steves.
Yeah, definitely thanks for planning this in advance. It's nice to see something happen ahead of time. But one question I did quickly have is that the agenda item calls for appropriating. Where's the money coming from? Ron? Yeah.
Thank you. I'd be happy to take that question. I actually have Will here as well. In the current budget, our new growth is significantly higher than we expected. So that's why we're doing an appropriation here, because we are going to use the new growth that's coming in beyond what was expected to be able to finance this $46,000. And if you have any other questions, Will can talk about. There'll be no impact on the tax rate because, again, growth is larger than expected.
Anyone else? So now we're going to do a roll call on this.
Councillor Nash?
Yes.
Councillor Steves?
Yes.
Councillor Auclair?
Yes.
Councillor Carrasco?
Yes.
Councillor Clements?
Yes.
Councillor DePietro?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie?
Yes.
Councillor Manna?
Yes.
Councillor Morales?
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries.
And again, thank you, Mr. Town Manager and members of the council for your continued support.
Thank you, Chief. Agenda item number 11, vote to approve the bonfire at McMahon Field according to 527 CMR 10.23 parentheses 1 for pre-Thanksgiving football activities on November 22nd, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this item? Councilor DePietro?
Goes without saying, Selfish Fire will be there,
Yeah.
I would presume.
They come to us with this agenda item, basically. They have request, and then it has to be, for whatever mass state laws tell us, we have to, the authority of the community has to vote on it, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? 9 yes, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 12, vote to declare items submitted by the Cable Access Department as surplus and release said items for auction.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this. Councilor Steves?
That was on the last GenGov agenda item, and we just quickly went through this list. It's 34 items long. A lot of them are of minimal value. Some of them might actually be still usable, and it's kind of standard. They're stuff that's surplus. I mean, they get rid of them. They'll be auctioned off at some point.
Any questions? All those in favor? 9 yes, it's unanimous. Motion carries. Agenda item 13, vote to instruct the town manager to develop an RFP to sell 70 Foster Street and bring back to General Government Subcommittee for review.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this. Councilor Steves?
That was also on the last GenGov agenda. And in this case, we had simply talked about the fact that that this particular project went out for RFP and bid a couple of years back. And we got one bid, but it turned out that the company looked at the project after, kind of toured the building and looked at it and realized that they couldn't afford to fix the place. So we put it in mothballs, and now the town manager can probably explain a little bit more clearly, that has had some conversation with a couple of people about trying to sell it again and would like to see what's available.
Thank you, Mr. Steves. Any other discussion? I'd just like to point out that this is one of the things, it wasn't just that they asked us, but we have been pushing for an RFP on this for a while. I believe it was discussed at at the Goals and Objectives meetings, too. It's time to get rid of properties that we don't have any use for, cost us money, liabilities. Okay, any other questions, then? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Motion carries. Agenda item number 14, vote to ratify the Statement of Intent, Chapter 10-300.1, and the Statement of Bylaw, Chapter 10-300.2, as written below. 10-300.1, Statement of Intent. Under Massachusetts Constitution, Article 97, all residents of Massachusetts have a right to clean air and water, freedom from unnecessary noise, and the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic qualities of their environment, end quote. In pursuance of that right, over many years, the voters of Southbridge have indicated their disapproval of landfilling in our community as follows. On June 13th, 2017, the citizens of Southbridge voted overwhelmingly 1,303 to 852 in opposition to question 1, stating clear opposition to negotiating any expansion of the town-owned landfill. And B, on June 4th, 1999, the citizens of Southbridge, by a vote of 1,952 to 715 on question 2, strongly opposed the concept of contracting management of the landfill to an outside corporate interest, but a subsequent council disregarded that vote and approved such a contract in 2007. 10-300.2, Statement of Bylaw. A, no town official, council, or other body shall authorize the use of town-owned land for purposes of establishing a landfill beyond that which is already authorized and available for such purposes within the town of Southbridge unless approved by a majority of Southbridge voters at a ballot vote. B, the town of Southbridge strongly encourages any party seeking any future landfill on privately owned land seek approval by a majority of Southbridge voters at a ballot vote.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilor DePietro.
Madam Chair, from its the first time we discussed this in closed session, I had objected, and I objected once thereafter on the first reading, I believe. But what's killing me is 10-300.2, line B. The town of Southbridge strongly encourages parties seeking any future landfill on privately owned land seek approval by a majority of Southbridge voters on the ballot. At present, I believe this would be the purview of the Southbridge Board of Health. If the voters were to take that out of the Southbridge Board of Health's hands, now it's still going to DEP for the state of Mass. And from there, quite possibly federal. I really object to this line item B in here. I think it's bad language. I think it's something that's for future councils, future arguments. For somebody to go dig a hole in their backyard and get approval for it, I think it's, at best, it's silly, and I think it should be taken out from this. Other than that, I'm happy with the proposal. Thank you.
Councilor Manna.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Like Councilor DePietro, I don't agree with B. I don't support any of this, actually. I just have a question, though. Statement of intent and statement of bylaw, those words. Is this an actual bylaw, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Or is it just a statement?
The statement of intent is what it is. The bylaw would be.
So shouldn't that just read bylaw? It
Pardon?
shouldn't be statement. Shouldn't it just be bylaw?
It's how it was proposed. Councilor Steves?
Thank you. Just to, we kind of have discussed this repeatedly, but just to reiterate, the whole point of the first section of 300.1 was simply to lay out some background onto why we felt it was necessary to do it. And I remember the last discussion we had at the council here when Mr. Smick came up and raised concerns about the way it was phrased, there being in the past no historical statements in such bylaws. And I thought about that and I realized, maybe we should be setting precedent by creating historical reasonings for why we do what we do, rather than having people come forward 10 years from now and saying, why did they write this? Sometimes you can do things, you see the bylaws when, say, for example, charter review changes have gone through or bylaw changes have gone through, and the committees or the commissions that do them will sometimes put them into their discussion notes, but if you have to go dig through reams and reams of town paperwork to find them of why they were doing what they did. In this case, although I recognize that the section 300.1 doesn't have any real legal strength, it does help explain why we're doing what we're doing, why we thought it was necessary to put this bylaw into place, and therefore I think it will help going forward to make it clear what our intentions were. And regarding section 300.2b, I recognize also, quite frankly, that the way that it's phrased, it's not really intended to have. I admit that section doesn't really have any teeth because it is strongly encourages, because we recognize that the way state law is written, the fallback for the authority of deciding where landfills go on private land does ultimately end up to DEP and the state and the Board of Health. But in this case, it's just simply a recommendation going forward to say, if you are going to propose such a thing in our community, we believe that the people have a right to vote on it. That's the democratic process. That's what the whole point of our form of government is. And just because there are technicalities in some complex books of laws that say they can possibly do so if they jump through all of these hoops and get approval from DEP and the Board of Health. And I'm not trying to step on them because I understand that they have a very important job to do. But I think it's also important to say that if you're going to do something that's going to have a long-term, decades-long impact on our community, the people should have a right to say so. Say something about it. That's why it's there.
Okay, Councilor McKenzie.
Yes. With respect to Councilors DePietro and Manna, I do believe that I agree with this line B of the bylaw, and I do believe that since, if you take a look at 10-300.1, Statement of Intent A, the citizens of Southbridge voted overwhelmingly. And then on June 4th, 1999, the citizens of Southbridge voted 1952 to 1750. This, 52? 1715. 715. Did I say 17? Yes. Okay. Thank you for the correction. I do believe that the citizens of Southbridge need to have a voice in anything that is taking place in their town, whether it's private land or whether it's public land, whatever. They don't want it, and it should not be slipped into their throats. So that's my opinion.
Councilor Manna, then Councilor DePietro.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Everybody has their opinion, and I respect that. This is a law, though, that you guys want to put in. And now I'm just like questioning statement of bylaw. Is it a statement or is it a bylaw? Okay? And it doesn't sound like we're too sure on what it actually should be. And you want it to say something. You want the people to understand something. But then a law is a law. You're telling the people what they can and cannot do. This, you're encouraging people. This, you're telling people what they vote with. This doesn't belong in a bylaw. And we could possibly be overstepping the boundaries of the zoning, the DEP. I mean, and as far as people voicing their concerns, I respect that totally. They do that at the polls. They come here, they do that. They vote us for their voices. We're their voices. And that's what it's all about. If you want the people to vote on everything that we vote on up here, then perhaps we should do a referendum, and we should go back to the selectmen days and have a town meeting where the people, they come and they vote on everything and see how fast government works then. But I do not support this in any shape or form, and after listening to Councilor Steve's talk on this, it doesn't, he wasn't clear in stating that this was a bylaw. This was something to show the people of what the intent was. A bylaw is our laws. This is a statement of bylaw. It says it right up here, where we strongly encourage people. I cannot support this. I support the people, but I cannot support this. Thank you.
Councilor DePietro.
Madam Chair, I'm with Council Steve as far as the intent, absolutely. But the wording, I mean, 10 years from now, in front of another council and in front of a judge, if I decided I was going to tear my house down, dig a hole in my backyard, bury it, and put another one up, I could argue at this point. And that's what bothers me is the language, certainly not the intent. The town of Southbridge strongly encourages any party seeking any future landfill on privately owned land. That's an argument, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Why can't I dig a hole in my backyard? The town council back in 2017 said, hey, I could do it.
No, it doesn't.
I could argue that, I certainly could. Item B is the only part of it, and I get your intent, Councilor Steve, it's just the language. I think it's dangerous, myself. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Carrasco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are in November. This has been an item of discussions since July. Since the minute the people voted, this has been a discussion. It went from creating a signed resolution to finally having something that has teeth, that we can say it's a bylaw. History has spoken. The citizens have spoken. We are the elected people of the citizens. So I would agree 150% with Councilor Manna that we are the people's voice. And therefore, since we are the people's voice, we need to get this done and get it done tonight. That's all I got.
Councilor Steves, did you have something? Or are you good? Councilor Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have heard enough and said enough for the last 5 months on this. So for once, I'm not going to ramble. I am in support of this, and I look forward to the vote when we get to it. Thank you.
All right. For the record, I'm in favor of a bylaw in our bylaws as a bylaw is. I don't like your statement of intent, but I think the bylaw, as I did support it in the beginning, I continue to support it. I wish it was 2 questions. I guess it could be amended, but the vote probably wouldn't pass. So we'll go on to citizens who want to speak to this agenda item. Name, address.
Dan Butler, 35 Brookside Road, Southbridge. First, I just want to take a minute and actually thank the people that have worked hard on this. It's not gone unnoticed. I'm basically here tonight representing all the people that live around the landfill and have dealt with this nightmare for many years. Mike and Maureen Marchetti, they've worked hard on this. Councilor O'Clair, Councilor Steves, anybody else that's been to the meetings to get this landfill bylaw to you know, up here to vote on tonight. And I mean, on behalf of all of us that do put up with the landfill daily, I encourage you all to support this. I'm having a really hard time. I sat for 2 weeks since the last meeting, watched some stuff that was said at the end, and it just continued here tonight. I'm having a hard time trying to get the words. One councilor's saying that she can't support this in any way, but yet sat there 2 weeks ago at a meeting and at 2 different occasions during the meeting was talking about her right to clean air for having to breathe in neighbors' marijuana smoke. I'm sorry, but like we were just talking about the oath the councilors take when you guys are sworn in. It's to perform duties incumbent view for the town of Southbridge, not for an individual counselor. It's the same counselor that a while back was also worried about the cigarette smoke behind the town hall, and the same counselor who stood on Election Day in June next to myself and my 4-year-old daughter, who have been breathing in toxic air from the landfill and pollution from trucks, everything else that isn't our choice.
Excuse me, are you speaking to the bylaw, though, sir, besides?
Yes, this is
you are
directly on
demeaning
the
a
bylaw.
counselor, so if you want to just make a point
This
for
is
the
directly on the
bylaw.
bylaw.
Okay. I'm
Um,
just stating for the record that you are attacking one counselor, and I prefer
No, I'm
that
not
you
attacking anyone. I'm making a comment on stuff that was said here about this bylaw, and that's why I'm standing here. And it affects me personally, and I don't think she realizes how many people had upset the comments last week, the people that live around the landfill, to compare the Clean Air Act, the Clean Air Act. I don't choose to breathe in toxic chemicals and all, and I've stood up here at this podium many times over 4 or 5 years now, stating that I can't open my windows throughout the year because of the smells of trash, the smells of the trucks, the noise of the trucks, but that's not part of this bylaw. Well, I mean, technically it is. It would be stopping the truck. But anyway, marijuana smoke is a natural substance, and I don't like the smell of fish, but I can't go. I mean, she recommended a bylaw last week for marijuana, but it was already voted on by the people. I guess my thing is here to please support this. I don't think it's fair for a counselor who's supposed to be supporting not only my family, but everybody in this town, to say that she's not going to support this when, like I said, last week we were talking about her right to clean air and her disgust for marijuana smell and all these other, it's just, let's stay on topic. Remember the people. I'm just one person here, but there's many, many families that live around the landfill that have been, the water, we don't know what we're drinking, we don't know what we're breathing, the noise, everything. This all relates to this comments. So that's why I'm here to speak, just to remind you guys to put a face here before you vote tonight, that there's many of us here that this affects. So thank you very much for those who do support it, and hopefully that those that don't support it can remember why they took their oath. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Yes.
Someone else? No, I said thank you.
Oh, I thought you called me. Thank you.
Mike Marchetti, 120 Maria Avenue, Southbridge resident. There's an old political saying, don't let the perfect become the enemy of the good. Now, this is a good bylaw, and I know that the counselors worked hard to put this together, and you've accomplished quite a bit to get this on tonight's agenda. Is it a perfect bylaw? No, it's not a perfect bylaw. But if we're going to sit around arguing about what should go in it, what should come out of it, keep trying to change it to try and make it a better bylaw or a more perfect bylaw, you're never going to accomplish anything. So I would rather see it voted on tonight. I hope that the councilors support it. I think it'll be a great victory for the residents who oppose the landfill expansion, and I think it'll help a lot stopping any more landfill expansions in the future. And so I would just appreciate it if you would vote on it tonight, vote yes, and don't let perfection be your enemy. This is a good bylaw. Let's vote on it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other counselors have anything to say? Councilor DePietro.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to exclude agenda item B under 10/300.2 of the
Okay.
proposal.
You want to amend this to exclude? You're asking to amend this agenda item to exclude the B?
I am.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that. Is that under 10-300.2?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the amendment? So we will take a vote on this item as amended.
No, on the amendment.
On the amendment, right. This, on the amendment to exclude B, which is the town of Southbridge strongly encourages any party seeking any future landfill on privately owned land seek approval by a majority of Southbridge voters at a ballot vote. We'll do a roll call, sure.
Councilor Steves?
No.
Councilor Eau Claire?
No.
Councilor Carrasco?
No.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
Councilor DePietro?
Yes.
Councilor McKenzie?
No.
Councilor Manna?
Yes.
Councilor Morales?
Yes.
Councilor Nash?
No.
4 yes, 5 no.
Okay, so the amendment does not pass. So we still have the main motion on the table. Is there any further discussion on the main motion?
Yes, please.
Councilor Morales.
Just for the record, I'm sure this bylaw will pass tonight, but I will not be supporting it.
Okay. Councilor DePietro.
Madam Chair, I'd ask Councilor if he'd repeat that. I missed that. Your statement was?
Mine's?
Yes.
I will not be supporting the bylaw.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the main motion that's on the table? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call.
Councilor Eau Claire?
Yes.
Councilor Carrasco?
Yes.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
Councilor DePietro?
No.
Councilor McKenzie?
Yes.
Councilor Manna?
No.
Councilor Morales?
No.
Councilor Nash?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
6 yes, 3 no.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on, agenda item number 15, which is the new item, which will be vote to accept the Mass Cultural Grant of $11,200 incurred July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous by all present. Agenda item 16, Councilor's Forum. And we'll go with Councilor Claire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing to report this week. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
Councilor Carrasco.
Yes, I just got two things this evening. I just first want to thank the Tri-Community Church Collaborative Group that this past Saturday we were able to pass out 275 turkeys and with all the fixings to families in the Tri-Community. This is our third year as churches coming together from the Tri-Community to be able to supply this. And it is exciting that we have been able to supply over 1,000 families with turkeys and all the fixings in our community. So I just want to thank that group. For those that also not aware, but myself and my family, and alongside of my church and also Elm Street Congregational Church, who's partnered with us for the last 3 years, are hosting the 6th annual Thanksgiving Day meal at Elm Street Congregational Church. That meal is open to the public. It's open to anyone that may not have family, may not have friends, or just wants to sit down and have family have a meal with family. We want to be your family. This is our 6th year doing this. My daughters are 7 years old, so this is basically all they know on Thanksgiving. So they are excited. We encourage you to come out. It's going to be at the Fellowship Hall at Elm Street Congregational Church, 61 Elm Street, and it's from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. But also we will be delivering meals. So if there's an elderly person that's a shut-in that is not able to get out of their house, we have community volunteers, we have church members, we have a host of individuals that have joined us to just provide delivery. And that delivery service will happen from 11 to 1 p.m. They can all they have to do is call this number, which is 774-200-6095. 774-200-6095. 200-6095. You just call, give us your name, give us your address where you want it delivered, and this meal is at no cost. We will not accept no monetary donations from those that are receiving the meal. This is strictly for you to enjoy Thanksgiving and make sure that you have something on Thanksgiving Day. So I just want to put that out there. And we will deliver to Southbridge, Sturbridge, Fiskdale, and also this year Charlton. So any of those areas, please, if you know of somebody that's a shut-in, doesn't have family, we will be more than glad to bring them a meal and a Thanksgiving card. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morales.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, once again, I would like to thank our police and fire department for keeping our community safe for our family, and I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving as well. Thank you.
Councilor DePietro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, happy holidays to everyone. I hope everyone has a wonderful time with their family, and certainly contribute to those who are without. And, God bless all of us, this council, and everyone in this town.
Thank you. Councilor McKenzie.
Through you, Madam Chair. While I was saddened due to the unfortunate fire that took place at the Vienna restaurant on Friday night, I want to thank the rapid response and exceptional professionalism and performance that the members of the fire department displayed. I also would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Councilor Manna.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I really wasn't going to say too much tonight, but I am going to say a little bit. First of all, I need to let the community know that I do care about them. And yes, I do care about my health as well. We have a lot of things that are legal that we don't like to inhale. One of those for me is marijuana, and another being cigarette smoke. No, I never have lived by the landfill, but I did visit it on some occasions. I did listen to the concerns of the people when they had concerns, and I actually went to bat for some of those people when they asked me to go to bat for them. For me to sit up here and support the bylaw that was just passed, to me, it was dangerous to support that. For me, it was dangerous, and I think it's going to come back to haunt us sometime in the future. I don't know when, but I just have that feeling. On that note, please let it be known that I do care about your health. And let's ask this question. When our landfill is capped, where will your trash be going? It's not going to go magically disappear and disintegrate. It's going to go into somebody else's backyard. So if you're that concerned about the toxins going into the air, the toxins going into the ground, all the laws that are surrounded with maintaining a landfill, may I suggest that you start looking into how we can reduce all this trash and how we can become zero waste and all that stuff, instead of throwing it into somebody else's backyard and that be the end of it for you. Because when I ask people what they're going to do with their trash, they have no clue. It's not going to be in my backyard anymore, and some of them don't care. So on that note, I would also like to thank our police and fire department for the wonderful job that they do in our community and the service that they give. They deal with fires, they deal with attempted murders like we just saw here tonight. They do deal with robberies, they deal with heart attacks, they deal with overdoses, they deal with a number of things. And, you know, my hat's off to them. They are the backbone of this community. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. That's all.
Councilor Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'll try to speak quickly because despite my best effort to stay quiet tonight, I have a short list now. I'm not going to touch on the bylaw. Thank you for getting it passed. like to elaborate just a little bit more on something that the chairman said during chairman's announcements, and that was last Saturday for the flag retirement and flag burning, the proper burning, if you will. It was very cold that day. I was sick, but I was very pleased to attend myself. And I was very happy to see Councilor Clements and Mr. Clements there as well. Thank you for making time. I know it was cold and you all were busy. I'll extend some compliments as well to former councilor and Munson Fire Chief Butch McDonald, who was part of that ceremony, as was Mr. Jim Satilli, who I believe is with the Marine Corps League, and of course Mr. Trombley and the veterans that were there. It's great to talk with some of them. So thank you for that. That was a nice event. What's more, I'll just say tonight that it's always great to appreciate police and fire. They do a great job in this community with everything that we challenge them and that is brought before them. So that goes without saying. I think that, one thing that doesn't get said enough, and I'd like to extend it to Councilor DePietro, Councilor McKenzie, Councilor Manna, Councilor Steves, Councilor Clements, Councilor Morales, Councilor Carrasco, and Councilor Leclerc. Thank you. I see what you all have gone through over the years if you've been up here before. I know it's not an easy job. You don't get credit sometimes, much of the time, most of the time, but it's a difficult job and the community demands it and expects nothing but the best from us. So thank you for that. We don't have to agree on everything, but I'm grateful for your service, and I mean that sincerely. I know that in subcommittee, I think at Gen Gov, we've talked about a post-landfill advisory committee. I think it's time to bring that back, especially after tonight with some of the concerns about what's going to be happening when the landfill closes. So I'll ask Councilor Steves if we can put that on Gen Gov, we'll bring it through EHS. And then if people don't whisper under their breath, I could keep my train of thought. Anyway, I'll look forward to the town manager's annual report when that comes out, and I wish everybody nothing but the best for this Thanksgiving holiday. Please be safe, and I look forward to seeing everyone at the bonfire Wednesday night and also down at the ceremonies on the Common on Saturday. Thank you.
Councilor Steves?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things. First of all, I would like to see us take a quick moment of silence for Jackie Varon. She was on our Recreation Committee for years. She was well known by many in our community. So I just thought we could do that. Thank you. Also, a couple of points. The one thing I wanted to mention is the fact that we have the Festival of Giving Trees coming up at the end of the month. If I remember correctly, it's November 30th to December 3rd, which will be raising money for the Harrington Cancer Center, Mass Breast Cancer Coalition, and Silent Spring. That's over at LaSalle. So if you have a chance to go down there, check it out. A question through you to the town manager. I was curious. One of the towns I was covering a couple of days ago, or maybe a week ago, was talking about their town audit. I was curious. Has our audit process begun, and do we know which department is getting audited this year?
I'm not the town accountant, but I have not seen an auditor in here yet. Okay. Usually they come in and they sit here for weeks at a time.
I know.
So I have not seen one in here yet. Right now, I know that the town accountant is preparing and getting ready for things like free cash and the budget next year, but I have not seen an auditor, so I don't suspect anything significant in the process has started yet.
Okay. And also regarding we were talking about leaf bags earlier. I just wanted to throw out an alternative there for people. One thing we can always do if you have a little bit of space in your own backyard is just a compost. Or better yet, leave the leaves on your lawn because it's good nutrients for the soil next year. And lastly, kind of dovetailing with that particular issue, we hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving and also takes a moment to remember that to give thanks to the earth, because if it weren't for a healthy earth, we wouldn't be here. And that's it, Madam Chair. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yep.
Okay, yeah, there's a, did you want to say something? The public?
No, I want to talk to you privately about
okay.
an issue for the next council meeting.
Oh, okay. I just make a note too, your next meeting is?
Oh, our next meeting is Monday, December 7th. The regular December 4th, at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. However, the tax classification hearing will be at 6:30, right before it. So for people that want to see what's going on with our tax classification process, you can either tune in or show up and have comments and, let people know, let us know what you think.
All set?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to take a moment before we adjourn to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. May you and your family have a blessed day and enjoy what you have here. Each day is precious to all of us. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Great. We're finished.
So expect on the next agenda.